In English, we have many verbs, and if we were a non-native speaker, it might be very difficult for us to know which words are verbs. We have verbs like walk, eat, talk, drink, sleep. There is nothing from the phonetics or the transcription of the words that let us know, hey, this is a verb. In Spanish, we have it a little bit easier because in Spanish, our verbs are going to have um, one of three endings. Every verb that we encounter is going to end in AR, ER, or IR. So we know if someone says a word that ends in AR, ER, or IR, in what's known as the infinitive form, which is the generic, neutral, unconjugated, unpersonalized form of the verb, we know that that's a verb. Or if we see this written, we come across an AR, ER, IR infinitive, we know it's a verb. So our generic forms of the verb, which are known as the infinitives, are going to end in one of these. Again, an infinitive is the form that does not have a person added. So we don't have he, she, it, we don't have any, we're not telling who is doing the action of the verb. We're not providing a subject for this verb. We're just giving the generic neutral form of the verb. So let's look at some. Let's look at three common infinitives. Hablar, hablar, to speak. Your infinitives, when we write them or say them in English, they're always going to have the word to. Notice how we're not saying who speaks. We're not saying who speaks. We don't know, or it's not important. This is just to speak. This whole word right here means to speak. Notice it ends in AR. We know it's a verb, and we know it's an infinitive. Your infinitives are going to end in these. Another one is comer. Comer means to eat. Notice it ends in ER. To eat. We're not saying who eats. It's just to eat. And vivir. Vivir means to live. It's an IR verb. To live. So what we do when we use Spanish, when we actually use it to communicate, well, we can use these when needed. Like, I like to speak Spanish. In that case, I would just use the infinitive. I like to eat spaghetti. Comer. We just need the infinitive. I like to eat, okay? I like to live in Denver. To live, I like to live, then we just need vivir. But we don't always use these forms, right? Sometimes we say, I live in Denver. And in that case, we have to change the verb. We add a subject, we have to change the verb. So I'm going to show you how we can change the verbs to have different meanings in Spanish. And to do this, we're going to need to reference the pronouns that you've already learned. Yo, tú, él, ella, usted, etc. Now, what we can do when we're just starting out with learning how to conjugate verbs, conjugate means to change a verb in some way to match the subject. When we're first learning how to conjugate, it's nice to learn what I call model verbs. Verbs that you can go back to in your mind when you need to know how something is conjugated. Okay, so let's put our AR model verb here. Hablar, to speak. Comer, to eat. Vivir, to live. And let's have our paradigm in our head. So we'll have, I won't write it out here, but we'll have yo, tú, él, ella, usted, nosotros, vosotros, ellos, ellas, ustedes. We always want to have those in your mind because we're going to be working on your verb conjugations in order. Here we have to speak. when you want to say I speak, you say hablo. So what you're doing is you're taking off this AR, the ending. I shall underline all the endings. You're taking off the AR. And after you take off the AR, you're just left with this. And then you're going to add on the O. So this is the yo form. Yo hablo. I speak. In Spanish, you don't have to say yo because the O tells you that this is the yo form. I speak. This whole word means I speak. Let's look at the to form. Hablas. Now I'm adding on an AS. I'm taking this and adding on an AS. You speak. Tú hablas. Now we have él, ella, usted. Habla. Now I'm adding an A. Let's look at the nosotros. Hablamos. Nosotros hablamos. And let's just do the ellos, ellas form. Well, actually, let's go ahead and put up vosotros so that you can see vosotros is habláis, habláis. And then we have the ustedes form. Ellos, ellas, ustedes hablan. So, I speak, you speak, he, she, or usted speaks, we speak, you all, informal, speak, they speak, you all, formal or informal, speak. Okay, so, and in Spanish, you don't always have to have the subject. If it's understood who you're talking about, you don't have to have it. But you'll need to learn these in order. O, as, a, amos, ais, an. Okay, and you'll need to know that what do I do with hablar to conjugate it? And then I have to take off the AR ending and I have to add these endings. Now, what does this, let's get a little bit more in depth here. We said hablo means I speak, and that is correct. We said hablas means you speak, informal. You speak. She or he or you, formal, speak. We speak. You speak. They or ustedes speak. They or you all speak. These words can actually have additional meanings when we conjugate them this way. And I should mention, in what form are we conjugating these? We're conjugating these right now in what's known as the present indicative. This is the present tense, something that is happening in the present, and the indicative is telling us that we're talking about something. We're talking about something in an objective way. We're talking about what is perceived by us to be reality. You don't really have to know that so much at the what this means at the beginning of Spanish. Later on, this will be important to you to know what indicative means. This is the present indicative conjugations, and I've chosen these verbs because these are what it is known as irregular verbs. Regular verbs. They have a predictable way of being conjugated. Okay, so it's going to be regular, standard. There are not funny rules that come in, strange exceptions, and things like this. That's why I said these are really good model verbs to have. Okay, so hablo means I speak in the present indicative. It can also mean I do speak. It can be emphatic. Do you speak Spanish? I do speak Spanish. Do you speak a lot? I do speak a lot. So it can be just talking about something that is habitual, or that's going on right now. It can talk about, it can indicate emphasis. I do speak. You do speak. She does speak. We do speak. You do speak. They do speak. And I won't write all of these out, but that's just to give you an example. It can also mean I am speaking. I am speaking, but almost in a more habitual sense than something that's going on right now. Um, I'm speaking Spanish a lot after work. I'm speaking Spanish a lot after work. Then you might use hablo. Okay, so this can this can have multiple meanings. Now let's just look quickly here at the other conjugations for the conjugations for comer and vivir. Here we have our verb, what's known as the verb endings for the present indicative regular verbs in the AR form. In the AR conjugation, we have o, as, a, almost, ice, on. So you want to memorize those. Now we have comer, which means to eat. With comer, we have como, comes, yes, come, comemos, comes, comen. So we have os, a, hemos, es, en. Okay, so we have I eat, you eat, he eats, we eat, you all informal eat, they or ustedes, you all eat. OSA, hemos, ACE, in. So you can see that they're sort of similar to the AR. We have the O and the O. We have the S, but the A goes to an E. The A goes to an E here too. We have the mos, but the A goes to an E. We have the ice, but the A goes to an E. We have on, but the A goes to an E in comen. Okay? Now let's look at vivir. Vivir means to live. We have vivo. We have vives. We have vive. Nosotros vivimos. And we have ustedes viven. Okay. So let's check out the endings. This is I live, you live, he lives, she lives, usted lives, we live, you all live, they live. OSA, imos, in. So a lot of similarities here, right? It's the same endings, except for nosotros. Hemos, y goes to I. Hemos goes to imos. Okay, so this is what is known as the present indicative conjugations, and I should also write for regular verbs. Later on, you'll see that we're going to find verbs, or we're going to come across verbs that do not follow this pattern. They have different patterns, and so those are called irregular verbs. So you'll want to know that these are regular. Learn the regular ones first, learn them really well, learn them front and back, and be able to use them. And then later you'll go on and you'll see some irregular conjugations.